Whew. All right, here I am again. Still solo. Maybe solo for, I think, over a week. I'm getting stuff done. It's funny how it looks like I'm outside the back porch of a cabin with this backdrop, right? Notice that when I saw the video online, it's like, man, it looks like I'm actually sitting outside of a cabin. I mean, you can tell these are two wolves right here. Big gray wolf. Big black one. Yep, I caught him. Now, what am I doing? I am going to go to... Okay, hold on a second. When I go, I'm going to end up in a place called Myrtlewood, Alabama. So I'm going to be heading. What is it? It's 2 hours, 20 minutes south of Birmingham. So I'll fly into Birmingham, something I've done a shit pile of times. And then I'll be heading direct to Myrtlewood. Just not quite certain exactly when yet. So there's somebody who definitely wants to share some significant shit with me while I'm there. Get a hold of me. We'll see if we can make it happen, all right? Birmingham to Myrtlewood. It's my first leg of my first adventure out of here. There you go. Okay. More emails, more people. It's drizzling rain. It's cold. But I'm going to go out and fire up the chainsaw and try to get a bunch of my firewood busted up to get my blood pumping for a couple hours anyways after this, and then carry on. So, this is titled Story from a Neighbor. Hello again, Steve. I've been working on the map slowly. Well, my neighbor told me a few stories she said I could forward. It's her and her 15-year-old daughter. We live in the middle of nowhere. She's about 2 miles further into the mountain than I am. She's about 500 yards from where I hid in the hollow log and had my sighting of the red-haired one. That sounds familiar. She lives up here most of the year in a fifth wheel. Well, when she sets up, she removes the gooseneck rig from her truck. Well, apparently they wanted to help her and tried to lift it out of her pickup without disconnecting it. They bent the gooseneck to the point she had to get it fixed. She's had no visual sightings, but they steal her tobacco leftovers in her ashtray, and toys or food she leaves out. She makes plushies and had one she had in a bag that the coons ripped open. What's a plushie? For the small plushie to be stolen. She went to bed one night and they kept slapping the side of her fifth wheel. When she went out the next morning, her top step of her trailer was covered in large crystals. Her daughter laughed and said, "Hey, I like bones." She said 2 days later there's a pile of bones on the same step. She's had no real visual sightings, but has heard them talking and chattering. She also said when she plays music, they will off and on tap 2 sticks together with their music. They have no fear of the woods, and once were being trailed by a big cat. Apparently, our friendly neighbors ran him off following them. She swears she can tell when they're following them in the woods and are near. Only once she got in the rotten smell and it felt unsafe. I told her I'll go outside and talk to them. And have had one toss small stones at my porch off and on while I was talking to them. I also told her about them slapping the house, whooping, and plying my dogs with bones. Must have been giving my dogs bones. She hasn't had them try to bribe her dogs with bones yet. Oh, bribe, okay. And bribing my dogs with bones. So what you meant? She hasn't had them try to bribe her dogs with bones yet, but the dogs let her know when they are close. She says they hang close to her or her daughter and trailer. I find it odd. The ones up here do not try to hide when they are around. I guess they know all of us wouldn't hurt them. She told me in the assortment of bones left for them were hog and deer, completely cleaned and bleached out. Also, they will strip her cigars and take the tobacco, but leave the outside of it. Well, I thought I'd like to hear another's stories from here in Oklahoma. Sincerely, Oklahoma dude. There you go, man. Appreciate that. Oklahoma. I wonder why Oklahoma. East Texas to Oklahoma as well. I wonder why. Pennsylvania. I wonder why some places are just more prone. Wonder. Interesting, right? Interesting. And kind of creepy. You know, it's funny. A lot of people are absolutely convinced that we cannot harm them and our guns won't do anything to them. But we have had people like Bobby Short had a handful of people, accounts taken in by her of these beings being killed by people. One was the bow and arrow. But, you know, think about it, guys. Just use common sense. If we could not harm them, they wouldn't hide from us. Right? They would not hide. And I guess maybe somebody might counter that with, well, there's the rules. There's the rules. They've got the rules. They can't be in contact. They can't do this. There's rules. Or they pay. I don't know, man. They're seen way too often. And if those rules, yeah, it's a whole nother topic. We'll start debating. Well, there's other bad ones that don't abide by the rules. There's these ones, there's that ones. The dog may go out and kill them. And they got other ones that hunt down the bad rogue ones. There's so much shit that's been fed to the people through people with no receipts. How do you know there's good Sasquatches chasing the bad ones? Who told you? Etc. I'm just saying. I am a firm believer. Yes, we can hurt them. And yes, our guns will hurt them. That's just me. Where'd that little babble come from? Here we go. Yesterday's email, important knowledge on reaching out through telepathy. So yes, anyone can reach out to the spirit world. Or, for the scientific people, quantum physics wise, reach out. The real multi-layer universe with different, mostly higher dimensions is around us at all times. With numerous personalities. Yep. Shower, in the can, all of it. We are never alone. Also never judged. They have been around us the entire time. If you want respect and no fear, you command this. We are all extremely strong spiritual beings ourselves with no memory. Also, all taught that we are not, or basically not being, quote, given these truths, end quote, as we are 100% guilty of being a lead race, plant, and people. We follow all authority without questioning. No shit. Until now. We ask for answers instead of trusting ourselves. It's been hammered into all of us before our birth. My experience of seeing my first zombie experience came after calling out via my own inner voice and sincerity in asking. Touched my hand through the tent, pressed against each other. Watched 2 nights in a row after some many handprints in my own home ceiling, not just outside, because I, sincerely, out loud, asked for the truth. The only thing I can offer for those that want to know the truths. First, know you are made from love. Our light. All from the great creator. For your information, which majority, if our friends in the forest know or respect, if you ask for the truth, you will get it. Be strong and know beforehand, scientifically, things that are not possible from what we were taught will happen. Never live in fear. You're equally as important in the whole plan as anyone or anything else. Be prepared to really want the truth if you ask these things. There you go. There you go. Anybody who does decide to go somewhere and sincerely sit down and reach out and ask, and you get an answer, we want to hear it here if you want to. Appreciate your email. Good words. Quote, handicapped, end quote. Raven and Little People photo. Hey, Steve. I was inspired to send in a recap and more stories, including a recent story and a photo I have of Little People after watching one of your new videos. My last story I sent in happened when I was a teen, 20 years ago. The short version is my brother, friend, and dog chased a sabe off a creek bluff, where it then disappeared into a cave, so they thought. though the tracks showed it had actually ran up the other side of the bank, but was unseen doing so. Immediately afterwards, they came and got me. I found from tracks in the trails that it had followed them back. At a certain point, we were looking down at some more tracks, and I felt like we were being watched. I turned around and saw it, watching us from 15 feet away. 15 feet is nothing. It had one arm leaning up on a tree and was standing behind a barbed wire fence. It then shocked me by flashing away. It didn't make a sound and only left 2 prints where it had been standing. This is kind of a funny detail, but the face kind of reminded me of a caricature of Chuck Norris. Well, there you go. Probably was Chuck, right? But with the black skin and hair. The shoulders were about 3 to 4 feet, 3 to 4 times the width of the head on either side, making the head look kind of small for the body. Let me go back to what you just said about the flashing away. It then shocked me by flashing away. It didn't make a sound and all that. So I'm guessing you meant it flashed and then disappeared before your eyes. I'm thinking that's what you meant, right? I had several encounters after that, including seeing one, possibly the same black individual, run in flash mode. And within arm's reach, right in front of me and a friend. Then it crossed a field, jumped a creek, and then jumped straight up to the treetops, where it then went uphill on top of the trees, zigging and zagging from tree to tree before disappearing over the top. It was like something out of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but even more ridiculous. Another time, I saw 2 way off in the distance while I was hiking up a mountain. The mountain was mostly covered in shrubs and rocks, so I had a good view, though they were far. One was black and one was golden brown. They ran up the mountain together, taking somewhat separate paths, zigging and zagging around rocks and such before meeting up and disappearing into a grove of trees near the top. It took them about 3 or 4 seconds. I think that hike would have been at least an hour or 2 for me. I had a few other encounters, strange dreams, and mild PTSD after that for a few years before moving away. It was a very strange town called Tehachapi in California. Tehachapi in California. UFOs and ghosts are also frequently sighted there. Now to more recent times. This was about 3 years ago, between Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. I've been out searching for interesting plants, mosses, salamanders, rubber boas, garter snakes, and such a couple times in a particular area that spring. One early morning, I saw a pair of ravens busily flying around out in the open and around the water near me. I also heard a rather loud, obnoxious raven calling out to them from behind the tree line up a hill. I thought nothing of it and went about my day. The next day or so, I went back, similar time and place. I saw I saw the same ravens behaving a little more conspicuously this time and obviously talking about me. Third raven, however, was closer and louder. I took notice of its loud call, weird voice, and sloppy pronunciations. Just wasn't right. By the sounds of it, I thought maybe it was a handicapped fledgling, touched in the head somehow, or maybe it had some kind of bird Down syndrome. I figured maybe it was still kind of being taken care of by the 2 birds I saw near me. It was sure flying around up on that hill in the trees quite a bit, and all 3 were generally being noisy. I moved on. They were generally hanging out in the area around me. Eventually, as I walked along a trail, there was a big, clear, shallow puddle area in front of me. Right there in the puddle was a perfectly clean, strange little plant. The kind I would definitely want to collect. There were no other plants like it in the area. And when I said it was clean, I mean not even a speck of dirt on the roots. That's when I noticed how quiet it was. And I felt like I was being watched. I looked around, saw nothing. I looked down for tracks. There was nothing. Not even a bird. Tracks, though. It was muddy. There was no normal way it could have got there, and it was the perfect spot for me to see it, and for the plant to stay alive. I collected it with thanks because it was a pretty cool looking plant. I don't remember if I kept looking around or went home after that. Never saw that weird sounding raven or heard it again. I guess someone with a couple of pet ravens had been watching my activities and decided to help me out. Sometime later, some of my family went hiking out there and they saw something huge, black, and hairy hanging out back in some bushes. They said they thought maybe it was a moose or bear. Not sure how still and quiet bears and moose are while hanging out near well-traveled human trails, but who knows? Oh, and as far as little people, years ago I would occasionally work in photo lab. I would have to review all the photos before sending them back. Could you imagine that job back then? Could you imagine working in a photo lab? Knowing how twisted humans really are, lots of them. I could imagine every single day going to work would be an absolute adventure. And every day going home after work, you probably just couldn't wait to get home to tell your wife or your husband about what went down today at work, right? Sorry. I came across a group of photos in the middle of a bunch of normal ones. Half of them wouldn't develop right. Normally I would never do this, but I gave in to temptation and took some pics of the photos with my BlackBerry phone. The phone was poor quality to begin with, and the files have been transferred to new phones many times, but here's the best one. It appeared to be a couple of pointy-hatted, white-bearded little people with identical bolts of electricity around them. They're hanging out above a sinkhole in the woods. Could be fake. I have no idea the backstory, but it's definitely weird. Thanks for reading my messages. It feels good to tell people who believe me. Torrin from Liberty Lake. What do we got? That looks like a bunch of garden gnomes laid on the ground, that's for sure. Mini Santa Clauses. Yeah, who knows, right? Who knows what's up? Who knows? That's a tough one to, it takes a long time for me to load photos into the videos. Now I'm going to go like that. That's the photo, right? And I'll zoom in on that. And then back out again. There you go. Odd, right? Yeah, what an adventure that must have been working in a photo lab. Appreciate you sending that in, Torrin. Appreciate your time. Appreciate the share. Shared. Who's next? Giants yelling in the distance. And no, I'm not offended. Excuse me. Hi, Steve. Thanks for sharing my deep, low growl clip. I was already chuckling about it not being enough to satisfy you when you said you hope I'm not the kind of person to get all upset about it. No, not upset at all. I'm a man named Lady. My mom's name is Gay. Seriously. The boy named Sue has nothing on me. Good one. By the way, if you want to experience that chest/gut vibration, play that clip in your car with both the windows and the volume up. It's a powerful experience. It's a powerful experience. Insides turn to jelly. Anyway, if you're looking for something loud, I do have this clip from August 11th, 2020 in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. A local waitress shared her sighting story with me. I went to the location and found an entire village of stick structures. I dropped 2 recorders in their midst, and this recording was captured on one of them. This is some scary shit, so brace yourself. I was camped within a mile of this location. Well, wishes for you and Sarah. Grace and peace be with you all, James. Okay, man. Appreciate that. Especially the part, hopefully I remember to load some of the video. Especially the part about not getting upset. You see, you'd believe how many people have sent in a photo and I haven't seen what they're seeing. God, that little burn in my eyes driving me bonkers. And then I just say flat out, I'm not seeing what you're seeing. And then they'll send me hate mail. freak out. It's kind of bizarre. Well, I guess it just goes with the turf, right? Being online with the whole world to jump in the door anytime, anyone who wants. It's like one time we had a loose cannon. Some guy emailed us a couple years ago, and he said he was on a team that hunted down and killed Sasquatch all the time. And he said that a flamethrower was the most effective tool. And he's dead serious, right? And I think that was one of the few emails I'm like, dude, come on, please. Right? And he went on to freak right out. And then he went on to trying to stalk me online, trying to attack me left, right, and center, and email me shit emails. And he even went to the point of trying to belittle Dave Paulides for being in contact with me because I'm so evil. Crazy, right? Yeah, lots of people freak out if they don't hear words from my mouth that they want to hear, even though they're not threatening or demeaning. Moving along. Story from a neighbor. Hello again, Steve. Oh, did I just read this one? Oh, I did. Sorry. 1 second. All right, here we go. Encounter and My Truth is a tireless email. Hello, Steve. Enjoying the people's stories for going on 3 years. I'm glad to hear Sarah's healing up properly. Many blessings to you all. It's from listening to so many of the people's stories that one day it just became fact that these beings are 100% real. It's like a switch flipping in my brain. It went from maybe to fact. I believe God led me to know this fact because it's so important to be 100% aware of the spiritual realm. I think we're coming down to the close of this chapter on Earth. We have a Sasquatch story. I wanted my hubby to write to you about it, but he wouldn't, so I will. I was there too. We were driving the Pacific Ocean in Washington State back in the early 2000s. Our dog Goldie puked in the back of the vehicle, so we pulled off the highway to let her out for a walk, etc. Hubby and dog walked up dirt road through the woods for a few yards. He was taking a leak and noticed the dog cowering. Goldie didn't cower at anything. So he looked up, and as he described it, quote, saw a wall of reddish-brown hair, end quote, between the trees. He also smelled the smell. He also felt the fear. So he zipped up and walked quickly back to the vehicle where I was cleaning doggy puke out of the back. I remember I had the creeps as I was cleaning the mess up. I felt very uncomfortable, so I started singing a little song. My hubby walked up to the vehicle and just said sternly, "Get in." Not his usual self. I quickly wiped the rest of the mess and we got in and drove off. He then told me of his experience. I guess it wasn't spectacular. Maybe if he'd accidentally peed on the big guy or girl, it would have turned out different. LOL. Glad he didn't. Now, some more truth as I see it anyway. The power in the physical realm comes from the spiritual realm, good or bad. Through the filter of our souls, mind, personality, emotions, knowledge, choices. The churches are what steered the soul of most of this country for many decades. The church turned into a business and sold its soul to the government for tax break and slowly opened the faucet of evil. It's now allowing a gusher of evil to enter into this realm. They hopefully don't actually teach evil there yet, but they don't speak against it. They will all answer for it. And no, I haven't been to every single church, but I've been to many local ones and spoke up to the leaders who didn't want to mix politics with religion. One pastor from a larger church actually admitted he didn't want to risk losing his tax break. At least he was, at least he was honest about that. Okay, here's a fact from the Bible. The fervent prayer of the righteous avails much. James 5:16. The battle is in the heavenlies. God is telling us this in his word, so get into the battle and pray how he has taught us to pray. Stop begging God to do what he has enabled us to do. We are to command in Jesus' name. He tells us to speak to the mountain. We are to bind evil and loose goodness. It's all in God's Word. Okay, let's make this easy. If we open the Bible to the New Testament and read what is in red letters, we can read what Jesus said. It's a good place to start learning from the best teacher if anyone is interested. I heard a guy prophecy that the April 8th eclipse is going to start a real big mess in this earth, especially in the USA. I'll be honest, it scared me quite badly. It makes me sad that this earth is going into the times in ways I'd only read about. He apparently has an accurate track record with prophecy. He thinks they're going to try to create a fake rapture with all their space gadgets to make the Christians think they got left behind. Don't fall for it. There will be a real one. He thinks October 27. I don't know if he has figured that out, but he is not the only one. The Bible says no man knows the day or hour, but it also says later on in the Bible that if we study, we will know the season. Be prepared. Get right with God. Make amends to people. Repent. Help people. Pet a dog. Show mercy. Love. Be kind. Grow some food. Be ready. God bless you all, and I pray I see you on the other side. Much love, Cece. There you go, Cece shared. Thanks for your kind words. We get no shortage of chapters from the Bible sent in. No shortage. Do I think anything's going to happen from an eclipse myself? No. There you go. That's just me, though, right? Now, moving along. Pictures. What's this? Caught in an old apple orchard next to this guy's gator. There is your size comparison, Joe. All right. What do we have here? Something. Don't know what. All right. So there's one. I've never seen these photos before. I'll share them. I'll share them this way. It's just so much easier for me right now, right? And here's the next one. And what might be considered even more rare, the actual comparison with a human in there, which so many people don't do. But hold on a minute. Is that the same place? Just trying to look to see if maybe possibly the one on the right was a toy. But I don't think so. I don't know. There you go. Shared. I don't know shit about those photographs. What do I think about them? Me? Not much. Not much. Now. Did I forget anything? Anybody? Let's see, what do I got here? All right, this isn't marked as red. So let's go. Request from a retired U.S. Navy captain. Hello, Steve. It is the new year, and I made a resolution to contact you, and only you, about both Bigfoot and Dogman. I'm wondering whether there is perhaps some private and secure method of reaching you. I'm a retired Navy captain with 30 years active duty under my belt, and I am concerned about my name or description getting out, perhaps accidentally, perhaps not, about my long-time experiences with both the builders, bracket Sasquatch, and Dogman. I have a cabin in the woods that's 50 miles up a barely passable dirt road. It is in a valley with no other human habitation anywhere within at least 10 miles. It is in a national forest in the U.S., and the property rights were grandfathered in to allow private ownership when Congress established this particular national park. I bought it in 2000 from a Y2K freak that was afraid the world was going to end when the world's computer shut down. On January 1st, 2000, when the world didn't end, this character's wife told him to sell it, which he did immediately, to me. To say it's remote is an understatement of monumental proportions. It's at 6,500 feet elevation and can be reached by a vehicle, barely, only from late May to late November most years. There's an almost ridiculous amount of builder activity and recently dogman activity going on there. So you're referring to the Sasquatch people as builder. But I have to be careful. If too much of a description of myself or the cabin or the location is posted online, I fear the consequences for me and or my family. I've been careful so far. Given the rank that I rose to in the Navy, I was able to do some very discreet digging for governmental information on both the species we were talking about. I found an outrageous, even for the Navy, amount of security around both subjects. And I had to, quote, back off, end quote, when I came up against them, but not before I'd gotten some information out of the databases. Make no mistake, the builders are real. Dogman is real. They are termed as such by our government. They are as real as the granite mountains and the forest which they inhabit. I'll end this here for now. I've sent this from a secure email address that is ghosted by a number of others, going back to my actual IP, and that so far has been safe and secure. In closing, I will say you're doing a man's work, young fellow. Bravo Zulu, very sincerely, Captain D. Wow, interesting. Well, I don't know if you sent us any more, but send us some more. What do you got? Show us what you tell us, share with us what you've learned. We're not getting any younger, right? We're not getting any younger. Secrets suck. I want to hear. I want to know. There's so many people out there, man. It drives me kind of bonkers. And I'm not saying this person here at all, but it just reminds me, like one prime example. I've said it before. There's some older guy, Fort St. James or something, northern BC, and apparently he's got clear photo of two of these beings on his trail camera. And I've had somebody from southern BC email me saying, yeah, he's got them. I've seen the pictures. And I had two other people from northern BC email me say they saw the photos. And then they asked him if he wanted to share them, and his attitude was, oh, well, you got to be careful with these things. Holy shit. Right? You got to be careful with the photos, do you? What's going to happen? Are you going to blow up? You know what I mean? Quit being stupid, people. Quit being stupid. Quit being scared of shit they shouldn't be scared of. You know what I mean? I get it with some people, they're going to lose their career. They've been threatened. They're going to lose their jobs. I mean, tell you what, you got some guy living rural. He's got some shit on his trail camera. Oh, you don't want to share this shit. What's going to happen? A meteorite going to come down and squash your house in the middle of the night? Come on. Here's my little outburst. Here's another one titled Afghanistan. Steve, let me start by saying I love your stories. I stumbled across your YouTube channel while checking out bear stories on my lunch break. I'm an avid hunter and fly fisherman, so your content's right up my alley. Now to the good stuff. I've never had an encounter with a Bigfoot, or could even say I would like to have one here in the States, but I did have a very strange and unusual story of something we saw in Afghanistan. Here we go. I wonder if I read this. In 2009, I was part of a small unit heading into the southernmost part of Helmand province in Afghanistan. Our primary mission was to curtail the flow of weapons coming across the border from Pakistan. To accomplish this mission, we had some DEA guys with us, as we were attempting to slow the heroin flow from Afghanistan into Pakistan. Well, it must have been too heavy competition for the Clintons. The Taliban will use the profits from the heroin sales to purchase millions of dollars of munitions in Pakistan to fight the coalition in Afghanistan. You get the point. Anyway, we were on day 7 of a patrol outside the wire looking for some bad guys in an area near the Helmand River. There are lots of caves in that area and ruins dating back forever. Just an incredible, extremely wild place. One August evening, a buddy and myself were on watch, just shooting the shit, talking about what our first meal will be when we get back to the States. I look up the side of a cliff face and see movement coming from my left to my right, downhill towards the river basin. I pull out my rifle and look through my ACOG and see a red-haired large figure headed down towards the group of goats. I think we may have read this quite a while ago, but I don't give a shit. I'm going to keep going. By this time, my buddy also has his rifle shouldered and is seeing the same thing I'm seeing. It was the color of an orangutan, but was moving on two legs extremely quickly. It probably covered 100 meters in around 9 to 10 seconds. And we're talking across some pretty rough country. It was also larger than a man, though I really couldn't tell you how large. It seemed as if the goats were aware of its presence, but did not make an attempt to move away. They all just stood there, in silence, staring at the thing coming down the embankment. When he reached the goats, he reached down with one arm and pulled one up by its front legs and threw it over his shoulder. Then moved to another goat and picked that one up and threw it over the other shoulder. Then he turned and started back up the cliffside with both goats in tow and seemed to be moving just as quickly as he was when he came down. The extra weight of the 50-pound goats on each shoulder not seeming to hinder him in the least. We watched him until he reached an area of known caves and disappeared. This all happened about 500 yards from our position. My buddy and I both looked at each other, and you could tell we were thinking the same thing. What in the hell was that? At the end of the deployment, I went in and talked to one of the environmental health guys and told him the story. Those guys are supposed to be experts in all the critters and such you may encounter when you're in the country, but he seemed to not have an answer for me. Anyway, to this day, I still have no idea what that thing was. It certainly was not a man. Thanks, Steve, and stay safe out there, Rex. That sounds familiar. I think we either read that one or read one just like it, which either or I would not be surprised. Afghanistan, too bad. It's too bad the people are so suppressed there, right? That'd be great if we could just reach out online to the general public in Afghanistan, the rural public, and listen to their knowledge. Imagine the shit they've got to share. How many generations have they been in those mountains? How many generations? Right? They've probably got furniture that's older than Canada and the US. So you imagine the stories passed down, the knowledge. You got families living there that long, and the amount of crazy ass shit that's been emailed in just to me about Afghanistan is crazy. If you didn't, that's the dog scratching the carpet, not me farting. So you know. What are you doing, bubs? Getting comfy? Yeah, if it wasn't for the obvious threat of losing your head from going exploring around there rurally, I'd be all over it. I'd be all over going to Afghanistan, hooking up some rural people, mountain guides, and taking on adventure. I'd be all over that. But you can't, because you'll probably lose your head, right? Shitty deal, isn't it? Anyway, gotta get my butt in gear. Gotta fire up my chainsaw, get my blood moving, get some wood split, and carry on and keep hammering out all of my shit to get done. And then start plotting out my next adventure, which is definitely going to be in the States. Southern, to start. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Also, what else? I think I just might, because I've got the whole place to myself, I could easily do it. I think I might film up a couple of bachelor guy meals for Sarah's channel. I'll let you know if I do that. I'm thinking I'm going to do that one. I got a halibut recipe that I had before I met Sarah. Oh my God, it is so good. It's absolutely stupid. So I might cook up some halibut that way and film it up and share it with everybody on Sarah's Cook and Eat It channel. And then I'm going to do elk and roast steak after that and show you the best way to do it. It's all I've ate, right? Fish and game for I don't know how long. And I've learned how to cook. Well, I've always been able to cook. But I have other friends who live rural forever. And my God, the stuff they come up with, well, with real food from the real world is pretty amazing. So I'm going to start sharing a lot more of that. Anyway, enough babbling. I got to get going. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Later.